We're spending some time this morning talking about Ernest Hemingway, and his legacy will be celebrated this week for the annual Hemingway Days Festival. Now, my first guest this morning, who I'm spending some time talking with, he's the author of Hemingway On Stage, and that is a one-man play exploring Hemingway's life and motivation. Brian, again, I thank you for being on the show with me this morning, and I'm so intrigued by Hemingway On Stage. You kind of spoke with us before the break about how this took on a whole different level than you anticipated, and this week you're going to be playing the sixth part of the play. Can you give us a preview of it?
Well, ironically, all of those years have brought Hemingway so close to me that there's a big part of my personality in this sixth play coming out. Mm-hmm. And part of it is dealing with aging. Part of it is dealing with a decline in your personal health. I've experienced those aspects. I'm actually right now 8 or 9 years older than Hemingway was when he died, when he committed suicide. Okay. So in this play, I pick it up from his plane crashes in Africa, where his health starts to deteriorate from that, and eventually follows him through a return to Cuba, his meeting with Fidel Castro, and I do discuss, how shall I say, my interpretation of his relationship with Fidel Castro, which incidentally I just performed in Cuba, and they loved it. Okay. And then it follows that very serious decline into the Mayo Clinic and the last years of his life. And I won't at this point say what the causes were, but I strongly refer to several things in my play as the actual cause of the death of Ernest Hemingway. And being a playwright, I have to say, come and see the show to find out the real reasons.
Okay, wonderful. Yeah, hopefully everybody can make it this week. And now, Brian, is it hard after you do one of your plays to get out of the character of Hemingway?
No, because I'm simultaneously myself and Hemingway. And the only way I can describe it is that spiritually, Ernest Hemingway and I have become great friends. And if there's such a thing as an aura that exists after life, it's come to me through his writing. And I've combined that with so many aspects of my own personality. For instance, Ernest Hemingway had to go back to Oak Park, Illinois for the death of his father, who committed suicide. And some years ago, my own father passed away right in front of my eyes, and I still remember the moment where his eyes closed, the breathing stopped. I put my hand out on his chest and suddenly, he came back for a second, and then his eyes closed and he faded and he was gone. Wow. And when I talk about death in my plays, I call on those images. Actors call that emotional recall. But it's incorporating part of me into Ernest Hemingway's life and incorporating part of his life into my being. So yeah, there is a combination, but never in that sense of my getting lost. I'm not Ernest Hemingway, but I hope I'm a pretty good playwright.
Well, I hear that you're a wonderful one, and I'm excited to watch you this week. And now, before we go, we're running out of time. Could you give our viewers and myself a fact that we don't know about Ernest Hemingway?
Well, all of my life, I have been trying to grow up, and maybe in the last 10 years, I feel I actually grew up. And what I've learned is that the meaning of life is to develop the compassionate nature, to care for other human beings. And I saw this in a letter that Ernest Hemingway wrote back in the late 20s. He was staying in France at Gerald and Sarah Murphy's house, and later on, their son Booth, whom he knew quite well, their young son, died of tuberculosis. And Ernest wrote a letter So it's not part of his traditional writing or books, but if you can track down this letter, you will find that he says, I don't know how to express anything that can ease your pain. Nothing can ease the pain of losing a child. And then it was the last line. I've used it now in one of my plays, and it's the motto of my life, especially as I get older. And the line is this: all we can do is to live it now, a day at a time, and be very careful not to hurt each other.
That's a great line. Wonderful. Well, thank you for sharing all of this with us, and tell our viewers when they can see the sixth leg of Hemingway on Stage.
Well, we're doing 2 shows here, and the proceeds from both shows are going to charity, the whole box office. Show number 1 at the Tropic Cinema this Thursday night at 8 p.m. And all the proceeds from that go to the Key West Art and Historical Society. We will also be awarding that night Canada's Hemingway On Stage Award. This is a $1,000 cash award to some local person who helps the legacy of Ernest Hemingway, and the Consul General of Canada is coming down specifically to present that award. The second show is a matinee the next morning early at 8:30, also at the Tropic Cinema. Pardon me, not 8:30, 11:30.
Okay.
I don't act at 8:30 in the morning. And all the papas from the lookalike contest are going to be there.
Okay.
Because that one, I'm giving all the proceeds from the box office to the scholarship fund of the Lookalike Society, which goes to your local community college here.
Wonderful. Well, thank you. Thank you again for being on the show. And we have to take a quick break right now, but I'll be right back after these messages with Michael Haskins. Stay with me.